going on, everybody? Welcome to a new week of the NBA Slate Starter Podcast. I'm Eric, joined with my very rich buddy Ryan as we break down the Monday 7-game NBA DFS slate. Ryan, I have to bring it up. 100K, my dude. Congratulations on Saturday. What a hit. You've been knocking on the door constantly, but it's nice to get one of the big ones under your belt, right?
Oh, 100%. It definitely a very intense sweat Saturday night after the amazing national championship game. So very thrilled to come up on top. I've been very close throughout this regular season. It feels great to finally get that, and excited to try to finish off this NBA regular season strong.
I miss the days when I could make fun of you when I was the only one with a 100K win between the two of us. That was a long time ago. The times have changed a little bit, but dude, congratulations. You're just a stud, the best, and you're welcome for giving you all of my intelligence and amazing takes the night before that you get from me. But guys, get to that bottom. I'm kidding, by the way. These are all jokes. Get to that bottom bar. Hit the like button. Smash that subscribe button. That goes a long way for us if you're watching on YouTube. And also hit that notification bell so you know when this and all the other content at Awesemo is going live. We've got a lot of late swaps to do here because we just found out that Chesson Randall is not starting and it's RJ Hampton. So we are going to fly through this. We're doing this right before the Magic game here tonight. I say the Magic game. They're going to get walloped. But we got to figure out what to do with some of these guys leading up to lock. So we're going to get started. You ready to get going, my dude?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Top end, a point guard over on DraftKings, like we always start. Russell Westbrook is $11,100. That's definitely the most expensive price that we've seen on him. He was $11,100 last time out against Dallas, put at 52.5. Plays deep 30s minutes. I mean, for me, the main thing is like we have the same situation that we always have with Beal, who's now been out for just over a week. We got to see if he's going to be in because 11,100 will definitely make you think having Beal alongside of it, but the matchup is just so good going up against Toronto. So that'll be a fun part to talk about. James Harden, he was ruled out for Sunday. We'll see if he ends up giving it a go. He's got a Q tag next to him now. Obviously, that's a big piece of news to keep track of. And Luka Doncic, 10,800. We've got him up against Utah. That's going to be a tough spot, but Utah at least plays up a little bit in pace, but definitely a tough spot for him to walk into. But man, we have all of these studs. Let's throw Kyrie Irving in the middle of that too. Who are you preferring on the top end at point guard?
Yeah, so it's first things first. Tomorrow is the national championship game, Gonzaga versus Baylor. Hopefully it's going to be a great game. It's going to be tough to beat that Final Four finish between UCLA and Gonzaga.
That was fun.
Yeah, phenomenal game. One of the best basketball games ever that I've seen. I've seen a lot of basketball in my life, and that's up there in terms of just thrilling, back and forth, nonstop type of action. What a finish. Jalen Suggs is a stud. Johnny Juzang was a bucket throughout this tournament. I know as a Michigan fan, that hurt me. But now,
is he from Michigan?
Tomorrow. Who?
Is he from Michigan? Johnny Juzang?
No, I'm saying he lit up Michigan.
Oh, yeah, no, he definitely murdered you. Yeah, you screwed that up. That's true. He was sprained ankle and all, just giving it everything he could that night.
Yeah, that was tough to accept. But all these games lock. 6 of the 7 games lock at 7 p.m. Eastern. So this is going to be a tough night to backlog anything. You have to be quick on your toes as news comes out right before. There's going to be a ton of news that probably comes out as the slate locks, and it can go one or two ways for you. So go really good or really bad. And there's only one game that locks at 8 p.m., and that's Phoenix and Houston. So just keep that in mind as we talk about these injury situations. Talking about Westbrook and Beal. If Beal were to be out, I think we go right back to Russ Westbrook. In a matchup against Toronto, I think we got to have a ton of interest in Russ in this situation. He's been balling out. I know he was not great against Dallas, but you got to have to project him somewhere in the low 50s to mid 50s against this Toronto matchup. He's playing a ton of minutes, and which is fantastic for him. Over there, taking a look on DraftKings, obviously, I think Harden is still believed to be questionable. I'm not sure what that timetable is. They haven't said much about a matchup against the Knicks. Luka Doncic versus Dallas, 10-8. Say fine savings options, $300 off of Russ. We know his upside could be the highest scoring player on the slate, so we should have interest in that alone. If Harden were to be out, Kyrie versus Brooklyn, I know it's Kyrie versus the Knicks. I think people are shying away from this Knicks matchup, but when there's a guy who's just dominating the ball like Kyrie, I think we can definitely go to him at an elevated 10K price tag. And De'Aaron Fox versus Minnesota. Sign me up. It's a matchup versus Minnesota. De'Aaron Fox is a certified stud now. This guy is taking north of 20 shot attempts, finding a way to get to the line at a decent rate. I would like him to get upwards in like the 7-8 range more consistently, but the shot volume's there. The minutes are there. Nothing. There's so much to like about De'Aaron Fox in this matchup versus Minnesota. Taking a look at the high tier on DraftKings over there on FanDuel, all those guys are definitely in play. They're all priced 11, 10-3, 10K, 9-3 for Russ, Luka, and Kyrie and Fox respectively. Have no issues if you want to save to De'Aaron Fox off those studs over there on FanDuel, especially where you want to roster too. But who stands out to you in the mid tier on both sites as we as I take a look at pricing right now?
I mean, not mid tier, but I have a weird one, and I don't think he'll be that weird. But Malachi Flynn is 3,500. We got Fred VanVleet, who's questionable. Kyle Lowry's already out. Patrick McCaw has a Q name next to his tag. There's not a lot of guys. Gary Trent is sitting there at the guard spot. Rodney Hood's questionable as well. Jalen Harris is questionable, which would actually matter. I mean, Toronto is looking like the value du jour up against Washington. Looks like we might be jamming a lot of those guys in. But Malachi Flynn has actually been playing pretty decently in the rotation. Played 31 minutes against Golden State the other night. So I'm expecting him to gain a ton of popularity against Washington. Curious to see where ownership comes in on that, because we do have a lot of these top-end spends that we want to make. But yeah, over on FanDuel too, I believe. Is he at point guard there? Yeah, he's 3,500 at point guard there as well. So looking at Malachi Flynn chalk day, how does that feel?
It feels scary just because we haven't experienced much of Malachi Flynn, but on a slate of this nature where there's not much value to expect it to open up throughout the night just because of how the games are going to tip off on their times, I think that Flynn makes for a superb value option on this slate just because there's not going to be much that opens up. You're going to know everything by 6:50 p.m. Eastern, most likely. So I think Flynn makes for a great option if VanVleet doesn't play. And I know they waxed the doors off of Golden State the other night, but Flynn's had someone who we played in the preseason. Is a decent player.
Yeah, he was good in the decent player.
So if he's going to get anywhere in mid-20s minutes, I think we should have interest really on both sides. Other guys who stuck out to me in the mid-tier, the Spurs minutes in the backcourt seem pretty solidified now with no Lonnie Walker there in the mix. We're seeing White and Murray play a lot of minutes. Last game did go to overtime, but I like both of those guys. I know they're going to be kind of low-owned options, but I think we can go to them in a matchup versus Cleveland, in my opinion.
Can we also play Killian Hayes? He's 3,100 over on DraftKings. Got up to 20 minutes. He played the most minutes at point guard out of anybody in the Detroit rotation, going up against this bad OKC team that's also going to be shorthanded. What do you think about him at 3,100? Also 3,500 at the min on FanDuel.
So Dwayne Casey had some comments about Killian Hayes. They want him to explore a couple of different ways. They want to play him some off the ball, some carrying the ball, handing the ball. So there's going to be a lot of flux in that Detroit backcourt. The Detroit backcourt is something I'm trying to avoid of late, just because there's Dennis Smith, there's Saban Lee, there's Frank Jackson, there's Corey Joseph, Hamidou Diallo, Josh Jackson. That's a ton of bodies for a backcourt rotation. And Dwayne Casey, if you look at that rotation, it's getting wider and wider and wider, and like everything's getting sprinkled around. One thing that does help, Mason Plumlee will not be playing tomorrow, which we can discuss in the front court rotation. Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah, Dwayne Casey is not throwing like one dart at the dartboard. He's throwing like 15 darts at the dartboard, hoping one just randomly hits somewhere near the bullseye at least. Spoiler alert, there's nobody good who plays for Detroit. Moving on. Oh, I should also say we are sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight today. MonkeyKnifeFight.com. Head over there, take a look at all their products. If you put in promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, it's on the tag on the bottom. If you found us over here, you know how to spell Awesemo. So plug that in, get $50 first deposit bonus. This is the week you're going to want to do it because we have a ton of sports and we have the Masters, which we will get to here in a little bit. One of the best golf weeks, the best golf week in my opinion of the entire year coming up this week. April Masters is back. Stoked to have it. Lots of big tournaments around the industry, but Monkey Knife Fight will also have some goodies over there. So check out their prop-based contests. NBA, MLB's now in full swing, NHL, UFC. all of the goodies over there at monkeyknifefight.com. So check out our sponsors. Top end of shooting guard over on FanDuel. We're looking at a situation with James Harden up there at 11,500. Whether or not he goes, I mean, that's just a big number against New York in a slow-paced matchup. But yeah, it's James Harden, and he's going to be your top spend up if he ends up giving it a go there. Donovan Mitchell, 8,800, who I've been playing a lot more recently. But again, they just ran Orlando out of the building, basically put up 2 FanDuel points per minute, but only put up 39.4. Utah just never plays close games anymore. Like, if Donovan Mitchell could just like get in a game where it was semi-competitive one time, he's just making everything. He's been looking really, really good. So 8,800, if Dallas can keep that game close. I don't try to stack ever, but I think I might have a lot of Luka Doncic and Donovan Mitchell together, hoping that game just kind of pops. So I'm curious to hear what you think about that. And then we have Bradley Beal at 8,800 and Devin Booker, 8,300 against Houston. He's been playing so much better of late too. Devin Booker's starting to get his stride. Talk to me about the top end of shooting guard.
Yeah, a ton of studs. Obviously, Kyrie over there in DraftKings has shooting guard eligibility. Mitchell's been balling out of late 9,100 in limited minutes. Now, imagine if if Utah's going to be playing in a close game. Shout out to Rudy Gobert, who has reached the plus 500 mark of this season, which is pretty remarkable. It's pretty insane that he's reached that level. Colin Sexton, 7,500 matchup versus San Antonio, a guy who's just getting a ton of minutes of late, and I think we can just keep riding those minutes, and minutes feel kind of secure. He's kind of been consistent all year long. Sexton seems like a very solid play in my opinion. Kevin Porter Jr. is now priced appropriately for his role without John Wall, and a tough matchup against Phoenix in my opinion. Gary Trent Jr. Will definitely have some interest if VanVleet were to be out. Just he could take north of 20 shot attempts in that situation. I believe D'Angelo Russell is questionable for tomorrow.
He's doubtful for tomorrow.
Doubtful.
Yeah. As your resident Minnesota fan who hates his team, Malik Beasley questionable, Ricky Rubio doubtful, and Russell's doubtful.
Yeah,
Jalen Noel doubtful just came through too.
Oh, well then more and more Jordan McLaughlin if we have Rubio.
Fire him up. He was a lock yesterday, and I wish I was able to play more. I was out actually living a life on Saturday, which never happens anymore. But Jordan McLaughlin was such a smash the other night on the Friday, I believe it was, when I had just gobs of him, and he didn't really play that well. Saturday, I would have just had an eternal amount. So that was sad to miss out on it. You, sir, did not.
No, he definitely paid out in a bit massive manner for me. So I would be willing to definitely go back to him. But in that same game environment, we need to consider Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield just because of the Sacramento, Minnesota. This is going to be a back and forth affair, in my opinion. If there is a game that you want to pop, Eric, I think the Minnesota Kings matchup, I think I'd prefer over the Dallas Utah matchup.
I agree with that for sure. But Dallas Utah, I'm just saying, like the two studs, I could play I would think that their stats would be more correlated than most other days randomly, where if the game stays close, I feel like a lot of that production is going to funnel to Porzingis and Doncic, or it's going to funnel to Donovan Mitchell. And in the event that Donovan Mitchell doesn't play more than 30 minutes, they probably murdered them, and that lineup is dead anyway. So I'm just thinking in terms of like, do you ever put groups like that in just as a thing to bring up for the people? Because I guess I don't generally try to do it. I don't like go out of my way to do it. I try to base it more off of projections, and I think sometimes you might force too much of one guy doing it that way, but I think it makes sense for tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it really depends on a slate to slate thing. The amount of news that's going to be pending, it's tough to get. There's not one right answer. You have to play it kind of on a day-to-day basis, and no slate is equal. All slates are created differently. All slates will have a different result. So just because of that situation alone, it's tough to give one right answer. At times it's going to work out. At times it won't. So the best judgment is to if you have all news on the table, I think the smaller amount of games, I think the less restrictive you should be, just to be able to put yourself in a position to nail different outcomes of possible outcomes in that situation.
Yeah, I love it. In a 7-gamer, this is like the sweet spot where it's kind of like it could go one way or the other, where it could be less restrictive or you should be restrictive based on like the Toronto value that we could have.
For sure. And just looking at some FanDuel pricing, Mitchell is definitely a solid option. 8,800. Devin Booker against Houston, 8,300. DeRozan, 79. Sexton. Anthony Edwards is just chucking the ball 7,400. I believe Malik Beasley's still questionable, so even more usage for him. Tyrese Halliburton 5,800. Ooh, tough not to like him. Gary Trent Jr. still in play. If Van Vliet were to play at 5,400. Man, there's that really rounds out the FanDuel shooting guard position. And Terrence Davis, TD3. Luke Walton gave him a ton of minutes. It closed with him the other night. And there was a lot of times they went to Harrison Barnes at the 5, and they went small with Terrence Davis in that lineup. A matchup versus Minnesota. If TD3 is going to get mid-20s minutes, we saw the upside against the Milwaukee team. Obviously, no Giannis was around it, and he was very efficient from the field. But at that price tag on FanDuel, where you're at the roster too, I think we need to consider TD3.
I forgot Terrence Davis was on the Kings until I saw him in your winning lineup. So there's that, letting it be known. Just full disclosure on that one. Got to call out my wrongs and as well as my rights.
He actually wasn't in that winning lineup.
Oh, he wasn't?
No.
Oh, I thought he was just in the optimal.
Yeah.
Okay. I was looking at optimals too because I'm a sicko and I just want to support my buddy. That's all I was trying to do. Okay, my bad. Again, I forgot. My bad. Looking at the top end, let's move ourselves along to small forward. Luka Doncic, small forward eligible over on DK. That's kind of where I think I would prefer to be playing him. Looking at some of these other options on a small forward, not great. DeMar DeRozan 8,200 against Cleveland. Sure. I guess we have a Q tag next to Kevin Durant, so that's an update. He's out, but they've got a Q tag right now here on DK. I never trust the sites to try to get my news from them. That's why you got to follow the birthday boy, the one and only news god at Awesemo NBA. He will keep you updated. But Kevin Durant, that's the first time that I've seen that not be a big red O next to his name in a while. So wanted to point that out. Anthony Edwards, 7,600. Looks like the Timberwolves might be pretty shorthanded based on a lot of that news coming in. Could see a spike in usage there against that Sacramento game. Makes it kind of an easing pairing with all the other goodness that you're going to want in that game. So curious to hear you talk about him. And then Jeremy Grant, 7,200. Now, that's not great considering 28 and 22 on DK the last two, but bounce back spot possibly against OKC. We'll see. Talk to me about the top end of small forward.
Yeah, top end of small forward. Just taking a look at pricing, the way things are stand right now. Obviously, if KD were to play, I believe there will be some sort of minutes limit or some sort of minutes monitoring a matchup against the Knicks. Doncic, obviously, fine option. DeRozan, I like at 8,200 quite a bit. Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant at 7,200. Yeah, I'm fine. Jeremy Grant, if you were to get mid-30s minutes against an OKC team, a really bad OKC team, could definitely put up a nice fantasy out performance. Other guys that stand out in small forward on DraftKings, a ton of guys just seem priced appropriately as you go down pricing. Hamidou Diallo versus his former team, if he were to, it just seems like there's just a logjam there. Just too many bodies for me to have a ton of interest in any of those Detroit backcourt guys. Sterling Brown, if he is continuing to get 30-plus minutes, he's not performing as well as I would like. That's really about it, man. It's tough to have much interest. Everyone seems priced appropriately over there on DraftKings. As I take a look at things on FanDuel, OG has been balling. 7K, probably one of the highest OG prices we've seen. The dude has been super consistent, put up 36 in 26 minutes, which is really impressive. Kevin Porter Jr., 6,200, much more favorable FanDuel price where you have to roster two at the small forward spot. I know it's a tough Phoenix matchup, but I think we can go there. Buddy Hield, 5,800, someone I think we can definitely consider in a matchup versus Minnesota. He lost a few minutes because I think Terrence Davis was just balling out. So Luke Walton did definitely ride the hot hand that game as I was watching it, but that's really how things stand. And if you think Keldon Johnson's going to strike a peripherals game, it was very good in the matchup against Indiana the other night, went 20 and 10. So it's another option at $5,300. But spending down, I think Sadiq Bey just because there's no what's his name, Mason Plumlee, some extra minutes could definitely sprinkle his way. A pure GPP play, just because we know how inconsistent Sadiq Bey can be.
Yeah, a couple guys. So Kevin Porter, 6,200 on FanDuel. I don't know how he's playing right now, but on a back-to-back, I don't know. I'm assuming he'd be fine to go again. Otherwise, you look the Sterling Brown direction because I don't think we'll be getting John Wall in that lineup. But anyway, making our way down, we do have Rui Hachimura, who's a game-time decision. I think that definitely opens up Deni Avdija at 4,300 on FanDuel. I don't know what his DraftKings price is here at the moment. It is 4,800, so pretty inflated up there at least. But on FanDuel, where you're playing two small forwards and it's already kind of a garbage position, I like going that direction. We've also got Malik Beasley. We had been talking about him a little bit. Malik Beasley, and I just never like playing Josh Okogie. He's just a terrible fantasy producer by pretty much any metric whatsoever. But you're looking at a situation where on DK at least, some of these other Minnesota Timberwolves, like you can play Anthony Edwards at small forward. You can play Jake Layman at small forward, who played 18 minutes last game and would maybe have to see some extended run. They do have a lot of just like random small forward bodies who play like 10 minutes. Jarrett Culver's there, I guess, again. But kind of looking at options from that game that you really liked there. I think Deni Avdija is probably the guy at 4,300. If Rui's out, that's a ton of minutes that just kind of open up in that front court. What's your interest level in him, should I say, and anybody else you want to touch on before we move on?
Yeah, it really would have, if the whole Beal news would change everything. I definitely think some of those guys could be in consideration. I'd rather take my chances, and I'd rather have someone cheaper. I'd rather take my guys on the cheaper guys. And on Washington, I know they're less reliable, but just salary is a part of the game here. I definitely want to be able to pay up from some other studs in the situation, but that Beal news is going to be really key, making that decision.
Love it. You know what else I love? Masters Week. I had talked about that a little bit ago. We have a lovely promotion going here at Awesemo. If you guys want, and I suggest doing this and starting it now because, again, Masters Week, there's 3 milli makers over on DraftKings. There's a massive $15 over on FanDuel. There are our sponsor, Monkey Knife Fight, is going to have crazy prop contests. There's going to be a lot of goodies that you're going to want to be involved in for Masters Week. We have a promo code going where if you buy 1 month of Awesemo Plus for golf, is $29.95 for 1 month of Awesemo Plus golf, you get another month completely free. That's buy one, get one free. We have all the goodies that you basically will want for this Masters Week. The projections, we've got Jason Roslin, we've got Ben Raza, we've got all of these guys behind the stable, and yours truly, who will be on Live Before Lock, I believe with Alex Baker on Wednesday, which is going to be pretty darn exciting. I'll be doing my first show with him. Not scared, not terrified at all, but put in promo code Dustin. That's promo code Dustin in order to get that, to take advantage of that offer. It's now valid from now until Sunday, April 11th, but I suggest getting in now because, again, Thursday is going to be a big, big day for everybody in the DFS industry. So check it out, guys. Going to the top end of power forward, we've got Julius Randle sitting up there at 9K against Brooklyn. That's kind of a lovely number to be looking at. Been consistently above the 40s the last 3 times out. We know the kind of ceiling he has had in the past, but New York does just play at a lethargic pace, and that makes it difficult. Brooklyn should help mitigate a little bit of that risk, but 9K Julius Randle, your spend up there. Kristaps Porzingis is questionable for Monday, which I guess I should have brought up with the Luka news. I would say that if he's actually hurt, and I assume that he is because he's always hurt, maybe they sit him against Utah. I'm not sure. You got to keep winning games, Dallas. You're not very good. I have no idea. 50-50, like true coin flip situation. I feel like I've been having a really good pulse on whether guys go or not. Lately, it's just been garbage because I have no idea what's going on in the NBA. But 8,800 Kristaps, we know the kind of ceiling he could have, would definitely help make that game a little bit more competitive. And then Pascal Siakam, 8,700, just too cheap for a guy who, if there's no Fred VanVleet, there's already no Kyle Lowry. I mean, OG Anunoby and Gary Trent are not Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry playing alongside him. So I definitely like 8,700 over on FanDuel for Pascal. And Christian Wood, 8,000 below him. If he plays on this back-to-back, also somebody to have interest in. Talk to me about the top end of power forward.
Yeah, top end of power forward. Love Julius Randle matchup versus Brooklyn. Both sides, honestly, like how could you not like everything checks the box, salary, matchup, price, just like everything is just great for him to produce in massive ways. Last time he played Brooklyn, I believe that was the controversial finish. He put up 60 fantasy points, FanDuel points, that is, against Brooklyn. So definitely a great option to consider. Siakam, if no VanVleet, a matchup versus Washington, definitely a pure GPP pivot off of that Randle ownership, which I do think will come up pretty high. Spending down to guys like Jeremy Grant, Harrison Barnes, Barnes in a matchup versus Minnesota, Grant while playing Oklahoma City, like we mentioned earlier. Very nice FanDuel price tag at $6,400. Makes for an interesting play. If Porzingis were to play against Utah, I think I will have some interest just because I think there's could be some matchup issues with Utah with Porzingis. Porzingis, I think, has played well in Utah dating back. I am doing that out of pure memory. I have to see how he has performed against Utah in the past.
Rain Man, Rinpack. There it is.
But I think that's another option. And then I don't know if Blake Griffin's going to play on a back-to-back, but and LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't know if he's going to play on a back-to-back. So there's going to be some Brooklyn Nets situation that we need to keep a close eye on.
Nicholas Claxton, baby. Claxton.
That
would be the guy.
If that were to happen, I think we can go to Claxton. Now, probably one of my favorite plays. Kevin Love's gone from 20 to 23 minutes. By that pattern, he should be playing 26 minutes tomorrow against San Antonio. And in 26 minutes of Kevin Love at 4,600, I would have a lot of interest in him, especially at that FanDuel price tag. Definitely something I will be looking forward to rostering tomorrow for sure. I think that's definitely someone we could target over there. As I move over to DraftKings in terms of power forward pricing, a lot of appropriate pricing. Siakam definitely stands out to me. Rashawn Holmes, 7,600 a matchup versus Minnesota. Definitely in play for sure. Spending down. OG Anunoby is not priced out at 7,200 just because of the Van Vliet situation. And Sadiq Bey, 5,100, where you get the 3-point bonus, I think is a very deep GVP option, but we can go there. And that's really about it. It's cheaper options. It's tough to spend down anywhere really below 4,600. The way things look outside of Royce O'Neal. No, I don't have any real interest in anyone below Royce O'Neal. The way things stand, barring any injury situation that opens things up.
Yep, agreed with you. I think that's kind of what I'm looking at here too. Pokashevsky's a little above it there. I would have some interest going to him over on DraftKings at power forward. Having a couple shots of him. Where is he at? He was like 5,300, I believe. Yeah, 5,300 up top there. You're going to have Roby, who's already been ruled out. So I think having him maybe a smattering of Tony Bradley, but Tony Bradley got priced up big time on FanDuel. We'll talk about him at the center position then too. But he got priced up. He had one outing where he basically like played 24 minutes there again and got priced all the way up to 4,900. So that's a little less advantageous. But the OKC front court, definitely a thing to keep track of. We'll talk about it here in a second because I think Moses Brown becomes very, very interesting again with no Roby tomorrow. Anybody else you want to bring up or move ourselves along to finish?
Let's round it up with the center position.
Let's do it. Top into center. We've got Karl Anthony Towns, 10,600. You've been riding that price tag to the cliff. I know that. I know he was in your winning lineup. If there's anything that I do know, that is a fact because Karl Anthony Towns is somebody you've been jamming in a bunch. And he definitely showed his upside, 70.5 against Philadelphia. Just murdered Joel Embiid. But they also got murdered because that's all that the Minnesota Timberwolves do is lose. At least I hope so. As a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, get us that number one pick, Cade Cunningham. Cut for Cade. Let's go. Julius Randle, 9,600 there. Christian Wood, 8,800. That's going to be a lot to pay against Phoenix. But again, we know the kind of upside he can have. Rudy Gobert is 7,900 against Dallas. Again, if this game stays close and under 8K price tag for Rudy Gobert against a front court of Boban and Kristaps Porzingis or whomever else is going to be sitting there for Dallas, that could get really, really fun. Talk about the top end of center.
Yeah. Love Cat. How can I not love Cat in a matchup versus Sacramento?
It was dramatic. Very LA of you.
Yeah. Sign me up for a lot of Cat if I can find the value to fit him in. Definitely have a lot of interest. Spending down to guys like Rudy Gobert make a ton of sense. That price tag, 7,900 a matchup versus Dallas. I like that quite a bit. Other guys who stand out, Rashawn Holmes, definitely we can consider. Jakob Poeltl, 6,900. He's been balling of late, man. This guy is turning into a very good player. And the Aldridge trade has opened up a ton of minutes for him. He's just taking advantage of that. DeAndre Ayton versus the Houston team. I know his minutes are always in flux. They did blow out this OKC team last time out. He's one of those guys in the mid-tier. I'm always being willing to go over the field just because he has an upside of mid-40s, and I would definitely consider that. Now, Chris Boucher, was put up 32 fantasy points with just taking 4 field goal attempts. So we got the
It's like Kyle Anderson today.
Yeah, we got the 6 stocks game from Chris Boucher the other night. So that was very nice. And Nerlens Noel versus Brooklyn. I know he only played 24 minutes versus Detroit. There is sometimes Thibodeau can play Noel north of 30 minutes in a matchup versus Brooklyn. I wouldn't mind that at that price tag. And Isaiah Stewart, someone who forgot to mention on the FanDuel spot, definitely one of my favorite value plays on the day right now. I think $3,700 power forward and $4K on DraftKings is going to be one of the highest owned players on the slate. It'll be tough to not to get well over that in the situation. Last time Isaiah Stewart was chalk, it was a matchup against Boston. He disappointed quite a bit. It was way back in I want to say in February when this happened. So just monitor that ownership situation. But a matchup versus OKC, I like going to Isaiah Stewart. I believe with no Plumlee. How do you feel about Isaiah Stewart and his price tags on both sides?
So let's talk about this on DK. This was kind of the most intriguing thing when I was watching, or when I was going through this before the show. Isaiah Stewart is 4K. Boban's 3,800. We know what can happen if you get Boban starting, if Porzingis is out, or whatever else happens from that situation. If Boban's starting, 3,800 nifty. Nicholas Claxton's 3,700, and I don't expect Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge to play on this back-to-back, so he becomes intriguing. And then you've got Tony Bradley, 3,500. That's kind of the real guy that I'm targeting in on. There's going to be no Roby tomorrow. Moses Brown is an intriguing spend-up option if you're trying to, well, not spend up, 7,100, but you get no Plumlee in that front court. His minutes have been down of late. They're basically splitting minutes with him and Bradley at the center position. Like, Tony Bradley's one of the best plays of the DraftKings slate either, no?
Yeah, I just feel more confident with a guy like Isaiah Stewart than Tony Bradley and the way things stand right now. But a fine pivot off of ownership. I just think Isaiah Stewart has a higher floor and ceiling with the way things have been put together over there in Detroit.
Together. That was the nicest way of saying they have a terrible basketball team, and why not play Isaiah Stewart a ton? I think that's what I heard.
And well, Stewart, especially a power forward eligible on FanDuel, where you have the roster too, it just makes a lot of sense to go there. Other center prices over there on FanDuel, Gobert 8,100, where you get more points for blocks and steals. Love it. If Aldridge were to play 5,800, it's an okay price tag. We saw he played mid-20s minutes, 29 and 26 minutes. A matchup against the Knicks, sure. I would rather spend down. If somehow Boucher were to crack the lineup again in the starting rotation, I would have a lot of interest. A matchup against Washington. So that's definitely a potential opportunity to take advantage of Boucher. But under 5K, tough to really have interest in anyone, really. If DeAndre Jordan were to start, if all the other guys in Brooklyn, the front court rotation's ruled out. But it's really tough to go anyone else below Boucher over there on FanDuel.
Well, Steven Adams has a double-double in the first half of this Pelicans game, so we've got a lot of work. We also have James Ennis, who just is sick, apparently, and Mo Bamba is sick, so we have a lot of things to talk about in the late... We're about to just get off the stream like immediately. I'm going to cut the feed. Rinpack, anything you want to say for the people?
Well, tomorrow there's not going to be much late swapping because the way the games start. Hope everyone has a great start off to Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in yet again. We appreciate your support and enjoy our Masters promo. One of the best promos you'll ever see from Awesemo.com. So much data, so much content, so many tools. Make sure to catch all of Eric's content throughout the week for the golf. So I'll be definitely tuning in. 3 million makers. Hopefully one of you guys take one of those now.
Yeah, I got the $20 covered, so you're welcome. Zags or Baylor?
Gonzaga.
Go Gonzaga. Guys, best of luck this week. Good luck on Monday. We'll see you back here for Tuesday. Catch you later.